Hello and welcome back to Python with another tutorial about logging and the logging package in Python. So what means logging? Logging means in general tracking events so that you can review your code, your logs, and can see what happened, which events occurred, which arguments were taken, which is essential if you want to do debugging, if you want to find mistakes. And yeah, when your code gets larger and larger, you won't be able to solve certain exceptions just with looking at the certain exceptions and see what is wrong. Maybe you need to log certain events to get behind your mistakes. So usually this kind of tracking happens in log files containing log messages, but logging can also help you measure performance, speed of certain events. So everything you can imagine where tracking some events could help you to improve your code, improve your program. And yeah, so let's just dive into it. First of all, like most of the libraries in Python, you have to import it. So we type in import, and now that's simple logging. So after importing, we have to create a logger object, which is called logger equals logging point get logger. We can give our logger the name we want. In that case, we will say no log can stop the log. Now let's create a file handler for our log. We just call it file handler, or file hand equals logging point file handler. And now in the brackets we type again our name, which is, or the name of the file handler, which is a data type log point log. Now we have to define a formatter for our format. We call it formatty equals logging point formatter. And now we have to define the format of our log messages. For example, like this. %s and then in brackets ASC time, and the s is lowercase. Now a space, %name with an s, level name in brackets, level name s, and messages as. Now after defining our format, we need to set the format. We need to use the set formatter function so that our file handler knows the format. Set formatter formatty. And now we created a logger object, so we are using logger point set. Now the function was add handler, and our file hand is the input. So now what is an essential part at logging are the log levels. So log levels are used to categorize and prioritize certain log messages. So the 5 important log levels are debug, info, warning, error, and critical. So while debug message or debug level messages are only used where in the development phase as kind of informations, like the values of variables. The next level are the info logs, which just state the state of the program. Like an info message can be program has started, program is finished, program did cool stuff. So like the name suggests, it's an info. Now, but the next level, and now it gets interesting, is a warning. Warning, warn you for certain events that may cause an error or a crash, and yeah, message you about things you may focus your attention on, which didn't cause a crash or an error specifically, but could cause an error, for example, or can decrease the performance. For example, a C compiler logs certain variables which are not used, and of course unused variables won't cause an error or crash, but yeah, you should get attention on that, because unused variables will cause unnecessary performance slowdown, or unnecessary events and unnecessary steps in your code. And of course, warnings can be errors, but they are non-fatal errors, so they won't cause in crashing the entire code. So next level are the errors, and errors are something that, if you have an error, something went wrong, obviously. And an error can cause a crash or stop or exit the entire application, or the application can maybe not execute the code as it is supposed to be, or can't do the task it is used to solve. So as you see, the increased level mean an increased severity of the increased importance of the message. Because the next and final level is the critical level, which means something downright bad. Yeah, that sounds a little bit crazy, but something catastrophic happened. The application will be unusual after a critical error, so you maybe have to restart it. But they can also be security breaches, or um, tell you that something immediately has to be solved or handled. Now let's log messages with different levels, like logger point, debug, hey, logger point info in lowercase, hi, logger point warning, o, logger point error, no, logger point critical, oh hell no. And now after running the code, I got an exception because I wrote down messages, but it has to be message. And I deleted the brackets here. So what also happened after running the code, we got our log file. And this log file contains our log messages. A warning, an error, a critical, another warning, an error, and a critical. And the format of course begins with our time. No log can stop the log, which is the name of our logger, and then the level. So if I remember correctly, this should get us also that the debug and the info is logged. So let me look. So let it test. And yeah, now the debug in the info is always logged because it's depending on the level. So we can set our level to even yeah, to a certain level, and yeah, according to the level, our logger will only log errors or warnings or yeah, debug until every higher level. So that's probably all I know about logging. Not my favorite topic, to be honest, but yeah, also a topic that should be mentioned, and yeah, also something that should be mentioned, I mean. And yeah, if you're working in bigger groups and don't do only small scripts, you need to log in a certain way. You can also just create a txt, but yeah, if you want to do it in a professional way, you should do it with a logging package, in my opinion. Okay, thanks for watching the video. I hope I see you in the next video. Have a nice day, bye bye, and see you.